Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we are talking about the causes of war, political causes. Now, when we're talking about political causes, we're talking about anything relating to the government or political affairs of a country. So a lot of the politics that lead to the First World War being started really stems into countries either trying to prove themselves, countries trying to protect themselves, or a manipulation of international diplomacy or opportunity to establish yourself. So there are a few juxtapositions that we're going to talk about today that tie into a lot of different causes. Now, just as a reminder, short term is anything that happens 1905 and after. Long term is anything before 1905. So as we're going over the lessons today, please be aware and please make sure you're writing that out or making a note of that. The examples we're going to be going over today are 5. We're going to revisit the Franco-Prussian War between France and Germany, which is a long-term cause. We're going to talk about the Triple Alliance, which is a long-term cause between Austria-Hungary, Italy, and Germany, which was mentioned in the previous video. We're going to revisit the Triple Entente between Britain, France, and Russia. And then we're going to talk about a new event called the Bosnian Crisis, which is a short-term cause, which is between Serbia, Austria-Hungary, and Russia. And then we're going to talk about alliances and the politics as why certain alliances were created and why that's an impact for the war or cause for the war. So, the Franco-Prussian War. Why is that a political cause? Well, just as a reminder, it is a long-term, but the after effect of the Franco-Prussian War did several things for Germany. It legitimized them even more as a country. So, before the Franco-Prussian War, there was another war that Germany did participate in that did make them a legitimate nation, but they didn't really prove themselves as a powerhouse in Europe until after the Franco-Prussian War. And a lot of that came down to the way Germany treated France after the war. So Germany was trying to play politics on the global stage by showing like, hey, we're making money moves here. We're making France pay us money. We're then taking a land that France needs to produce. And then, as you could see here, we're going to take the French king and the French military. They're going to come to Germany and sign the treaty here. They're going to sign the surrender here. So Germany is trying everything that they can to make themselves more legitimate and politically accepted among multiple regions. And so a lot of the Franco-Prussian War causes this disgust by France towards Germany because they are suffering a massive humiliation from losing this conflict, which we're going to talk about and revisit later. And Germany is seen as more political, more savvy, and a much stronger political country as they continue to grow from this. So politically speaking, this was an amazing cause for Germany as it makes them look and is treated as a more politically accepted country, which is going to be a big deal because this politics of Germany being seen as a more legitimate country is how and why they were able to create an alliance. So in order to understand why Germany was so intent on trying to be seen as legitimate is because looking at a map of Europe as we see here, Germany is in between 3 major empires. They're in between the French, the British, and the Russians. So if Germany tried to expand anywhere in the world, they would have to either go past Britain in the North Sea or go through the English Channel between 2 different nations. They couldn't go anywhere else. This area over here is locked between Finland and Russia. So Germany, being in this corner, essentially, had to prove we are legitimate. And after the Franco-Prussian War, when they did that, they would then reached out to other countries and said, hey, let's work together because we're all the underdogs. We're all sandwiched between these empires. We're all being treated like second-class countries. Let's come together, form an alliance to prove the big bullies that we should be taken care of, that we should be treated equally. And so Germany and Austria-Hungary all agreed to this. These two countries were like, absolutely. Austria-Hungary is a country who is starting to decline. They're getting weaker. And so out of fear that Russia is going to dominate them or take them over, they see Germany as, hey, this guy is a political underdog. Let's get him in. So Austria-Hungary is ensuring that someone's going to help them when war is going to occur, because they are eventually going to collapse. And these two countries, Germany and Austria-Hungary, in the alliance, say to each other, we are in it to win it. We are going to defend each other. We're going to work with each other. And we're going to make sure to advocate no matter what happens. And they're going to work very, very closely together. Now, the third person in here, Italy, joins for a very interesting reason. Italy joins the Triple Alliance because they are all kind of focusing on themselves. Italy is a relatively new country at this time, and much like Germany, they want to grow and they want to expand, but Italy wants to be the premier country. Everything that the Kingdom of Italy at this time is what it's called, is focusing on is being number one. That we're going to be number one, we're Italy first, so we're going to join the underdogs of Germany and Austria-Hungary because they want to change the world, and I want to be a part and hopefully be ahead of them by the way that the war ends. This is also going to be the reason why, as we're going to see, midway through the war, Italy is going to switch sides, because Italy starts to see that, oh no, they're not going to win. So Italy changes sides midstream. So the Triple Alliance, when we think politically, is all focusing on how or what the political structure is going to be, but more for a fighting against the big evil empires as we are the underdogs. Which is why, when we get to the Triple Entente, there's an interesting story here. Because although this is a short-term cause and it's a reaction to the Triple Alliance, although Britain, France, and Russia all come together to agree on protecting each other's markets and economy, France and Russia get a lot closer to each other and decide, we need to come together against Germany. Sure, Britain is a threat to Germany, but they're not connected. We are on both sides of Germany. So, because of what Germany did to me in the Franco-Prussian War, says France, I want a huge ally to help me. And Russia is really upset, as you're going to hear in the next example, with Austria-Hungary. So, Russia says, yeah, you know what? Because Germany wants to ally with them, I want to protect you, France, so that this becomes a fair fight. If Germany invades you and Austria-Hungary invades you, hey, I got your back, my man. So although France and Russia join the Triple Entente more as a friendship and for defense, they're both agreeing to work with Britain to protect overseas markets and to protect colonies. But these two in particular joined together politically because they know the way Germany and Austria-Hungary are coming together is going to be very dangerous. And they want to protect their power, their political power over the world. And how does Russia start getting really upset with Austria-Hungary? Well, one of the reasons is the Bosnian Crisis. Now, the Bosnian Crisis is a short-term cause. If we look at the map of this area, which is called the Balkans, we have multiple countries that are together and kind of sharing a lot of borders, but also being very suspicious of each other. And this suspicion grows in 1908, when Austria-Hungary, after witnessing a political conflict within the Ottoman Empire, takes advantage of the situation and sends their troops into Bosnia-Herzegovina to essentially lay claim that they are part of the Austrian Empire. This causes Serbia to make a huge fight and saying, no, absolutely not. Bosnia does not belong to Austria. Bosnia belongs to Greater Serbia, as they call it. And Serbia then reaches out to an ally of theirs, a very long, old ally, the Russian Empire, and says, hey, do you see what's happening here? Look, Austria is trying to take over Bosnia, which belongs to us. And when Russia then reaches out to Austria-Hungary saying, hey, you're not taking Bosnia. That is not a part of your territory. That belongs to Serbia. Austria-Hungary essentially says, what are you going to do about it, Russia? This has nothing to do with you. You're all the way over here. This has to deal with us here in this region. Keep your nose out of our business. The Serbians can talk with me, but not you. And when Russia then goes to France, Britain, and Germany and says, hey, what's going on over there? Someone needs to control their dog over there. Like, that is not okay. And when Russia starts reaching out internationally, Germany comes to the defense of Austria and says, no, Russia, this is their thing. They're busy with it. Don't get involved. And when Germany makes this claim pretty publicly, Austria just doesn't wait and invades and sends all of their forces into Bosnia. Doing this causes massive humiliation between Russia and Serbia. Russia is essentially seen as, these other countries disrespected me because although I tried to prevent them, you all pretty much just ignored me and in fact threatened me. 2 different people threatened me publicly. I'm not about to stand for that. But Russia was not ready to go to a war. And so they just took that humiliation and were seen as a significantly weaker country. Then, because Serbia was mad at Russia for not stopping what happened, said, you know what, Russia, you do your thing, we're going to do our thing, thanks for all your help, but no thank you again next time, okay? And so Russia is then doubly humiliated because one of their long-standing friends turns their back on him. And this politically shows a major flaw in the system, that if one country doesn't have a backup from other countries, like Russia did, that are significant, then essentially they're going to get ignored. And this humiliation is going to push Russia to say, Germany, you were out of line. And you know what, Germany? I know France hates you. So France and I are going to come together. So the next time you do something, Germany, France and I are going to be right there. Don't ever forget. And Serbia is going to witness this and say, all right, Russia, you did a pretty good job. You kind of stood up. Let's go ahead and try to work together, as we're going to see in 4 years, in 1912. So this whole incident exposes the political weaknesses of multiple countries when standing on their own. Now, this is where we go back to the political alliances. The Triple Entente only have a political connection between Russia and France, whereas Britain is just kind of there. And the Triple Alliance, which is Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, and now, as you can see, Bosnia, because of the Bosnian Crisis, they are all going to stand link step, holding each other, creating a front, stopping anyone from trying to stop them, as we just saw, which is going to build up and create more animosity that will amplify in 8 years.